So once we have a little bit of a theoretical idea in our mind as to what pre-ejection period is and why we're measuring it, I'm going to go back to kind of the raw data that you may have gathered if you're trying to use PEP in your research. There are three aspects that will be used. The two raw pieces of data will be this Z signal. This is non-invasive cardiac output, and it is kind of measured in a raw way. And similarly, raw data is our ECG signal. And this is for my master's research, so it's hard to visualize without zooming in. So we're going to zoom in quite a bit into an area that we think might be so sort of clean of too many artifacts. And as we zoom in, we'll see there's this periodicity to the data, much like the ECG signal, which you're likely going to be more familiar with. So each one of these spikes here is your R spike in the ECG signal. And you'll see up above there is a similar degree of periodic movement in the impedance signal. So what we're doing is we're measuring the degree to which an electrical signal put into the body is impeded in the thoracic cavity there, that chest cavity. And that tells us something about heartbeat dynamics. So the raw signal comes in, and depending on the software you're using, that might be all you have to work with after you've recorded your data, and you have to extract everything else. Different aspects of the BioPAC software do different degrees of extraction, but I was lucky enough to have BioPAC was able to calculate on the fly the derivative of the raw ICG signal. And this was coming in live, in real time as we collected our data. And this is super helpful because when we take the derivative of this channel, we can see something that looks much more clearly like a cardiac cycle, which it is. It's just different measures of the cardiac cycle from what the ECG is measuring. These labels were not here. The BCXO or the BCXYO were not here. They had to be done after gathering the data in the raw signal. But if you can, if it's at all possible, if you're trying to work with PEP, eventually you want to see if you can have visibility into this channel down here in real time, because you can see very quickly when the signal gets noisy. And I'm going to try to quickly scroll through and find a noisy element to the signal. It was very clean here. I was super lucky with this participant. It is so susceptible to noise. Here's a wonderful example of noise. So the person probably just shifted in their chair and we got this. And you can see similarly in the raw signal it was a mess. ECG is way more impervious to noise, which makes it a much more desirable signal to work with. So this ECG signal kept on plugging. You could see there was some interesting artifact in the middle, but it didn't interfere with our ability to see where the heartbeats were supposed to be. But the noise in the ICG signal can be so bad you have no clue where the heartbeat was even supposed to be. So that's just sort of an introductory level, and we'll go talk about more in the next segment.